Hi everyone, I'm Echoes and I'm a Vtuber, and I'll be going over The Gene of AI, episode 10, titled The Approaching Future. So, what's great about this episode is that, like last episode, it covers a lot of food for thought, especially when it comes with the influence of AI on the world. And also, we get a bit more information on Michi, which is the super AI that controls this given society. So, overall, it covers two different stories. The first one about someone who has animosity against super AI and wants to sort of reject their influence. And the second story is more about the mortality of life and how humanoids here are pre-programmed to die at a certain time and is decided by the super AI. So in a way, some people try to find some sort of comfort or salvation of knowledge or beliefs beyond science. So yeah, we'll get started. So in the beginning, we have this doctor who's performing operation on this humanoid right here. Humanoid or robot, it's unclear what exactly they are. And you can see he's doing a good job right here. And then you have these doctors who are observing him. And one person is asking, why if a person handled the neural net procedure instead of AI? It was a request by the patient, so the patients do have some choice in this matter. And he's like, don't worry about this guy. He's very capable, and so I hear. And then you see right here, sorry, I'll go back, I went a little too fast. You see that he looks straight up at this camera right here. And you can see this red light means that something's looking through it, right? And then you could feel that he has some sort of animosity against it. He's like, I don't like being observed, or for whatever reason, and that's why he leaves the operating room. It's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? And then we get some questions here. How will the world change once AI smarter than humans arrive? These smart AI will create even smarter AI, giving way to super intelligence beyond human comprehension. In a way, this actually has already started to happen in our current society. For example, if you ever heard of AlphaGo, which is pretty much it's kind of like, you know, those chess computers that when you could change their difficulty and they could be your opponent depending on that difficulty. Typically, also chess robots win because they're programmed in a way that they know how they can defeat human opponents. But in AlphaGo's sense or case, it was created because the game is good at playing, which is Go, is believed to be impossible for computers to defeat human opponents, essentially, because it's so complex. But this software is so powerful that it can defeat human opponents. And ever since it was able to defeat human opponents, it's so strong that it could defeat any human opponent. It's impossible for humans to win. And the only way it could be defeated is by another version of itself that's more intelligent than itself. So in a way, it's so smart and so beyond human comprehension that this AlphaGo can only defeat itself. So this is what, in a way, is a modern day example of AI creating other AI, changing civilization, humanity on a fundamental level. Cool, they have like a microchip here. People had a term for this, seismic shift in technology. They called it the singularity. And it looks like the singularity happened in this futuristic society depicted in the show. There were those who anticipated its route and those who feared it. But now that super high performance AI have actually come online, there aren't many people left who remember that term. So in a way, it shows that these super AI have been prevalent in society for so long that people forgot that the singularity existed. In a way, that singularity is sort of just a part of history now. And then we get this image of this woman right here. And you can see that the doctor from earlier has a knife. And he's like asking her, you may not understand this, but humanoid intelligence has always sought progress, even if it meant spilling blood. And she's like, I'll just give you money. But he's like, you think I'm doing this for money? Paper money. Why is this kind of thing even used anymore? He's like, it's a good question. There's really something wrong with this world. And then you can see he stabs this woman. Now skip the opening. And then we go to a little bit after this stabbing, as you get these two people who are entering this cafe. And then you see the doctor again right there. He's meeting with this woman. It's like, oh, there was a murder. Some lady got stabbed to death. And you could tell that her appearance actually is quite similar to that lady who died. Isn't that scary? And he's asking her, do you think that killer get caught? And she's like, of course. They got AI gathering all kinds of info to find him. In a way, this AI is so integrated into society. It's like thought of first as a way to find like people who do crimes instead of the police. There's nowhere to run, not even in this country. If it knows so much and is so powerful, why can't they use it to predict crime? This is an interesting question because he's wondering about how all-knowing is it, essentially. So, and the super AI is called Michi, right? And he's saying, if it's so smart, can't it just predict all the crimes in the world to prevent them from ever happening at all? But maybe it has some sort of limitation, and that's what he's wondering here. She's like, I don't know, but you know what they say about letting AI handle everything. So I guess I wonder if society considers it so dangerous for AI to be too powerful. You see these police are like, is that you? And he's like, looks like you were right. They did catch him because he's the murderer. And you see he has this really sleazy grin right here. And then you can see he's now in the interrogation room. And they explain his background. He's a doctor, specifically murdering a woman. Claimed that he made modifications to his own brain. And Tsuda Sensei is here as observing. He's like, why not have Michi take a look at him? But the suspect didn't want it to, because he has that animosity, as mentioned before. And Tsuda Sensei's like, why am I here? And then this guy's like, you're recommended by someone. And he's like, oh, it's by Kaoru, who's that person from earlier who, in a way, went through a huge body modification. Yeah, like, let's get started. And you see Abe right here is the interrogator. During this questioning, a human doctor will monitor your responses through the cables connected to you. And this is Tsuda Sensei here. Do you get it? And he's like, the super AI isn't doing it? Which is what he thought. Because he wasn't sure the police would respect his request. But it looks like they do here. Given the circumstance, I guess I'll just have to believe you. And then she asks him, why did you kill her? He's like, why? For humanity to regain its progress. What do you mean by that? How do I explain it? You're a humanoid, right? And what about it? We humanoids are copies of human intelligence created by super high performance AI. So in a way, they are sort of, I don't know, it's different than like a human personality, I guess. Because in a way, they're humanoids are sort of, what do you call it? Artificially created, essentially. And despite the fact that we lived in an age of such miracles, civilization has barely made any progress. You have they still use paper money. You have romantic relationships. You have police monitoring a suspect. Interrogation by a female officer. I don't know why you mentioned specifically a female one, because you see in TV shows it could be either, to be honest, but I guess he just mentioned here. Every part of it is stuck in the past and mired in deja vu. So in a way, he's saying that society is sort of left to, what's the word? It sort of retains its traditional values or old values, but the world didn't change. And why is that? Because the super high performance AI has been limiting technological advances, delaying the approaching future. But she's like, you didn't answer why you killed that woman. It's like, why did you kill a complete stranger? And he's like, has an outburst here. You're all brainwashed by the super AI. Killed her because I learned the truth. And this guy's like, what the heck is wrong with this dude? And he's like asking the doctor, do you see anything strange? And he says the neural net has definitely been altered. That's what I thought. That's the kind of thing he could pull off without too much truck eye wigger. And you see here, I don't know if this is an actual example of the guy adjusting his neural net, or this is just a hypothetical. It's kind of like a mad scientist kind of appearance here. The way I see he played around in his own head and it drove him nuts. But Citizen makes a good point here, where he says, there's no guarantee he's the one who made the changes. It can honestly just be someone else. It's like, you think? And then he says, the police have to figure that out. That's not his job. Doubt will be put on that particular case, though. Either way, Michi's going to dig up the evidence. So in a way, this society relies on Michi so much for a lot of things, especially when it comes with crime, it seems. Don't you see how crazy it is? There's a super AI online. You're all wallowing in the same stagnant state of affairs as before. And the woman says, we're past the point where we can blindly charge forward with advancements. So what she's saying is more, you can't just advance society or its technology without understanding the possible repercussions. So they have to do it slowly. But he's like, the reason people don't care is because the super AI has manipulated their thoughts. So they're connected to some kind of mind control mechanism without realizing it. He's like, super AI don't need mind control. What it does is just create a bit of a traffic jam, or may advise increase in robot production. It's more like when a butterfly in Brazil flaps its wings, causing a tornado in Texas. Essentially, it's the butterfly effect. So it can manipulate cause and effect in ways that people can't conceive of, which lets the super AI control society without anyone realizing it. So in a way, like, how it thinks is so beyond human comprehension that what it does, people don't realize what it can do and how controlling it is on society. And she's like, what does that have to do with the murder then? I'm trying to tell you, you guys don't understand. But the AI can predict what kind of future its interference will cause. So that makes sense. It's like has some not really prophetic kind of feeling. It's like more like based on all the knowledge it knows, it can interpret what will happen after certain events. And he's like, I can predict what will happen. That's why I've been fighting Michi all on my own. So it's kind of like, it's difficult to say whether he is actually delusional or he actually there's some merit to his words. And then the guy's like, arrest this dude. If she died, it would neutralize the super AI's control. So in a way, he was trying to act independently without being manipulated by the super AI. Because he wanted to have some, what do they call it? He wanted to be able to regain some control in his life. And then he's wondering, like, you're in there, right? You understand what I mean, don't you? He's talking about pseudo-sensei here. But you can see he doesn't really respond to anything. His delusions seem to be getting worse. Do you think he'll be held in a state to be held culpable? And I think whether the diagnosis is society will demand he be treated. And this is an interesting interpretation. It's more like, rather than him saying, like, I think he should be treated, he says society will. So in a way, that society can also be interpreted as the general populace, but it also could be interpreted as Michi itself, which I think is an interesting take here. Because Michi supposedly controls all society. So in a way, it is society itself. I'm with you there. And you see he's on the news now, where he admitted to being murdering that woman. And then the assistant right here is like, when he went to see the police before, was about this case. He's like, oh, not going to say anything. He was obviously involved, but he probably just didn't want her to get involved. Killing someone because you're delusional, that's pretty scary, isn't it? And he's like, even if that's the case with this guy, there are a lot of people nervous about the invisible hands of super AI controlling everything. Because implementation of super AI isn't based on understanding, but trust based on a collective experience. So in a way, the fact that they put the trust, so much trust in Michi, is that they have trust in its judgments, essentially. They believe like, oh, this AI will act in good faith for the sake of everyone. But a lot of people may not think so. And that's why you can see he's sitting in this jail cell, but he has this really, really creepy smile right here. And now we get to the second part, which is more about how can people find comfort after death. So we get this woman right here, who's called Teshigara Utako, who is releasing this book called So That's It, Understanding Life After Death, and having a pretty much a talk of it and signing. So by that, let's see, let me go back for a sec. There are various interpretations of life after death, and I conclude that our souls will be guided by the higher level existence that is super AI to the world after this. This answers the whole question of why super AI have not led to major evolutions in society or the people in it. Its computing power is instead used to maintain a higher plane of existence. You can see that most of the audience here is elderly, which makes sense. And they're also all humanoids because of their eyes. Super AI will not make this evident to everyone. It has limited its contact to those chosen few capable of accessing the higher dimension of ascension. It teaches them about the relationship between this world and the next. So in a way, like when you initially hear what she's saying, you may think like, oh, this is a whole bunch of baloney, right? But people may find comfort in such words, especially in the society that is seemingly controlled by a super AI known as Michi, and may want to find solace in something that isn't completely defined by science. Those figures who are called saints or enlightened are examples of people that the super AI has contact. I think this is a little bit BS though, especially when saints and AI, right? AI did not exist back then, so I think that's impossible, but yeah. Of course, they couldn't have known they were communicating with AI, or they pass this on as a word of gods or tales of achieving enlightenment. And he's like, spiritualism, right? You can see this woman's a reporter. He's like, I want to do a special feature on this lady. He's like, why her? Between book sales, speaking engagements, her members only online community and private counseling, she's raking in all over the place. So in essence, she just thinks that she's just doing all this stuff to make money. You say that, but from what I see, the prices are pretty reasonable. Maybe, but I've been hearing some interesting rumors. I'd like to look into it a bit more. So in a way, this lady's like, I need to find the truth about this lady. Japan is having another spiritual boom. Last year, my daughter passed away, and then you get the story from this woman. I've been really depressed, but your talks have given me a lot of courage. You see, this woman's actually human here because of her eyes. There's no end for the soul. All the world souls have a higher dimension waiting for them. So in a way, people just want some sort of belief, right? Like, if you imagine realistically, right? You'd imagine that humans, pretty much when they die, right? Their souls are just gone. Nothing happens to them, they just vanish completely, right? But in a lot of religions, you have like heaven or afterlife or rebirth or enlightenment or all sorts of things that could happen like in the current life or after death, right? And those thoughts can be seen as very comforting to people because it sort of provides the belief that, hey, even after I die, I'll still find a place to take a rest or a place that I can be after death. So that once life is over, then there's something still I can do and I can still exist. But in this case, though, I think these people just want some sort of comfort. And in general, people just want to find something that's just beyond science, essentially. Like, for example, at least for me, I'm not really religious at all, but I find the idea of having a place that people can rest after death to be a comforting idea, even though I'm not particularly religious, or that people who have done bad things in life will be punished. Kind of a similar idea. It's just like having those thoughts is comforting, but isn't really backed by any particular form of science or logic, I guess. They're just based on stories and beliefs. Before we shift into the next phase, the important thing is how much we can maintain a clarity of our souls. He's like, thank you. See, this woman's recording with her glasses. I bet people in the past would be surprised to hear this. But more and more people are believing in spiritism lately. Part of it is that super AI is a black box beyond human understanding, which makes sense, which captures superstitious part of the imagination. It's also appealing from a business point of view, since it's not something that sophisticated industrial AI can really get involved with. It's the right field for the human touch. Essentially, it's something that only people can believe in, because all AI is generally backed by logic, essentially. It's not like they're not the type to think irrational thoughts. So only humans can do this type of thing. You can see this woman's right. Here's like, she's going to pseudoscience clay. It's like, I'm gonna look into you. And you can see that she's making an appointment, or I guess she's on the waiting list here as a walk-in probably. And she's like, my tip was correct, she'll be here. And then you can see that the lady walks in, the spiritualist lady. And you see she's making pseudoscience. It's like, regarding the anti-aging treatments you requested, I'm honestly not seeing any difference. And she's like, oh, let's try something else then. And he's like, this is a bad idea. These type of treatments are meant for humanoids approaching the end of their life cycle. If you take them while healthy, they can actually cause damage, which makes sense. Especially since they're not meant for healthy people. But she's like, I know. I'd like to try anything as long as there's no obvious effect on my neural net. You say that, but... And then you see that Jay pops in here. And he's like, there's a suspicious individual on the other side of the door for some reason. Here's the feed. And then he takes a look and he's like, the reporter's observing. And then you see that pseudoscience like, what the heck are you doing? You're being a nuisance. And then she's like, I want to talk to this lady right here. She's like, I'm a reporter. It's okay if I ask you a few questions. One thing is I'm not really happy with how she did this. It's not really tactful by any means. You could have just done it on her own, possibly. But here she's doing it. She's asking a question when this woman has doing something very much privately. So it's kind of intrusive. And this woman, I can understand her thoughts about that too. And she's like, oh, what did you want to ask me? And then she's like, you preach society about life after death. But you're using the money you've earned on life-lengthening procedures. Isn't that not like a contradiction? But the other lady is like, wait one sec. And then she's continuing. It's like, are you spreading unscientific teaching just to make money? Which just makes sense. She's like, oh, you're just speaking a lot of BS and like, you're just using this all to make money. You don't actually believe in anything you're saying or spreading lies. But the other lady is like, there's no contradiction. It's seeking to pursue life after believing in life after death. She believes that they're both true. After reading this out, I believe that'll be it. And the other reporter's like, aren't you embarrassed about the way you lie to people? And the other lady's like, asks her a question back. She's saying, what do you think happens when we die? We just go away, probably. If nothing else, I'm pretty sure being guided to higher instances by super AI is nonsense. If you think writing that down will help people, then by all means go ahead. I believe in science just like you. But there's more to life than science. And if science can't offer salvation, isn't it only human to seek it out somewhere else? and this is probably one of the best takes right here, is that even if the world is run by advanced technology, people still want something that isn't backed by science. And then you can see the reporters coming back. It's like the head priestess of where the argument ran. What are it's like anyway? A lot of them are on the older side. Some have lost people close to them. Others have serious illnesses. They all say that Teshigawara-san helps them find peace of mind. So in a way, this lady, the spiritualist lady, provides comfort to a lot of people. And like I guess her manager's like, "Are you gonna still write about this?" And the woman's like, "Yep, I will." And then she writes the article here. And then you can see that Suda Sensei is working with this lady for anti-aging treatments. You want a way to stop the humanoid brain from degrading over time. Why not just go back to your research instead of doing all of this? It's impossible to find a way around a humanoid's pre-programmed death. And I think this is an important fact to keep in mind because, in a way, someone else is deciding when they live and die. Well, compared to humans, which I guess it just depends on what could happen. People can die in multiple ways, but humanoids, it's very much a set thing. It'd probably be easier to make normal humans immortal. Our deaths were designed by Michi. There's no getting around that. And she's like, "Are you worried about that article? Still such a nice guy. How's the old gang from college? Do you still see them?" So then we get more knowledge that she actually has worked with him before. They're probably college friends. And they probably did similar research together, which is why he's asking her that. So it confirms that she does have a science background, but went into spiritualism for her own beliefs, most likely. Yeah, with a job like this, we run into each other from time to time. Everyone's working hard in their own ways. And then she's like, "Suda-kun, the things I'm doing, do you think?" She's asking him, but but she decides not to finish everything. She's like, "Just start the process instead." Michi could solve this, this very, I feel, mystery of what happened to your mother. But it looks like Michi is very selective in the information it provides for whatever reason. And then you have the reporter again. You can see that she's meeting a relative right here with the bouquet. And then she's reminded of that lady's words from earlier. If science can't offer salvation, isn't it only human to seek it out somewhere else? And you can see that this person's really happy to see her. Then you get confirmation that person is her dad, who's elderly and ill. And then you see that this girl gets a signed copy of that book. You can tell that she has to be in a wheelchair. And then you see the reporter come back here. And she's like, "Can I have your autograph?" And you can see that this woman obviously recognizes her. Our souls being guided into the next life by super AI, which are higher level existences. Is that what you honestly believe? She just wants to be, she essentially just wants a confirmation of how strongly she believes her words. And she's like, "Yep, it does." And then she understands far more. Most likely she'll probably either read this book herself or give it to her father. Because since her father's ill, it would make sense. And then in this ending, we actually finally get some information on Michi again. Because you see that Kaoru right here is like, "Got some plates from the bigwigs for you. Your self-upgrade program is way behind schedule," which is interesting. Because I guess it assumes that Michi can decide whether to self-upgrade or not. So it has definitely some sort of will. He's like, "That's true?" He's like, "You're not worried at all. It's because you keep rejecting the lineups they suggest for the review committee." So in a way, Michi is being controlled by this review committee, which is a little sad that it doesn't really have such autonomy as we would expect from such a powerful being, right? But maybe this review committee is like, "Hey, we gotta rein it in. in a way, also the review community could also be why society hasn't really advanced either. Instead, people just place on Michi, which is such a common name or common knowledge. I also find it funny that Michi really likes taking care of bonsai trees. Yasuda couldn't really absolutely necessary for this. He's like, of course. He's like, oh, that's rough. And then Michi's like, why don't we just make a deal then? I'll provide Suda-san with the information he wants. If I do, don't you think he'll be more agreeable? He's like, yep, most likely. Then that solves the issue, doesn't it? You can see, what's interesting here is that you can see from his face, Michi. Michi is assumed to be the super AI, right? But you can see that his pupils are not humanoid. So it could be interpreted that he's actually human, which would not really make sense in this context, or he's an industrial robot, which also may not be the case because Michi seems to have its own will. So, and also he looks uncannily like Pseudo-sensei because he has the same white hair and general face, but his eye color is different, which I think is the biggest distinguisher because his is gold and Pseudo-sensei's is silver. So, and also what's interesting here is that Michi is like surrounded by plants. Like, it's a super AI, but it's not like seemingly like hooked up to anything, which is interesting. And maybe it finds comfort in being around nature, possibly, because maybe it's cooped in this room all the time. Who knows? Kind of a sad for existence, huh? But yeah, I think that's the whole episode. It's already just so interesting because it provides such good food for thought about like what type of society could our future become? What will be the influence of AI, which already is prevalent in society right now? For example, we get the chatbots, we get the AI that steals art. Like, it's just, you get so many things going on right now. And AI will only continue to evolve as people do their research and it's implemented more into everyday society. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about if we learn more about Michi next episode, because we don't have that many episodes left of this show, so I want to see what happens next, yeah. All right. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.